Buenos dias, or buenas tardes, or buenas noches, depending on when you're watching this. So I just want to take you through some of the workbook activities. So today we're just going to talk quickly about Hola, ¿qué tal? I wanted to make sure you understood what was being asked of you. So when you look at this first section on page 1, you're basically completing the blank with the greetings or endings or how are you. So everything, because of that Hola, ¿qué tal? Is all of the ways that we can say hi, how are you, and goodbye. In our textbook, if you actually go to pages 2 through 5 in either the blue or the orange book, you'll actually see a lot of these phrases highlighted in blue, and that could create a little word bank for yourself. So that might be helpful as you're going through in case you get stuck on one. When you go through number 2, you're just going to again, so now basically that you've seen number 1 and you've seen some of those options, now you're not being given an option. So now we're getting into the spelling practice, we're getting into accent marks. So you're going to want to use the rest of the page, especially if you look at activity 3. Activity 3 is essentially an in-class activity, but it's a great word bank. So now you can kind of see one of the major differences is we're looking at the difference between tú and usted, conversations between friends and conversation between professionals. So we're looking for things like where we might say somebody's name like Juan or Pilar versus señor or señora, which might denote that we're going to use the usted version of como está rather than como estás, or y tú versus y usted. So treat this third activity really as a word bank to help carry you through the rest of it. And now some of these, like activity 1 on page 2, basically Juan says, Hola, ¿qué tal? What might Miguel say back to Juan based on Hola, ¿qué tal? And so select either Adios, señorita, or Muy bien, y tú. Esteban and Senor Garcia are having a conversation. If Esteban says Buenas noches, Senor Garcia, what would Senor Garcia say back logically? Same with Diana and Senora Ramos and Senora Acevedo and Ana. So just keeping in mind when you see those formal titles of Senor and Senora, the person speaking to them will probably use an usted form or be a little bit more respectful. And now number 2 is a lot like activity 1, except now there is no word bank. So use the activity above, use activity 3 from page 1, and fill in logical responses. If Miguel says, Hola Juan, ¿cómo estás? What's something logical? Now, there's not just one answer. There could be a couple different things Juan could say back. So just follow that practice. Practice 3, you could actually write a little dialogue that you might practice based on what you saw from the first page in activity 3. Moving on here, again, you're just kind of going through with what would be the best phrase. So based on dias, would I choose hasta or buenos? Based on como and usted, would I choose está or estás? So again, if you use the other pages as a word bank, it'd be a great opportunity for you to see how it's spelled, see the accent marks above the A, and that's really the goal. And then for me, the big ticket item is the second activity. There's no word list, there's no starter prompt. Now you're using what you've learned over the 2 previous pages to say, can I do this without a word list? Do I know it well enough? Is it getting into my long-term memory? Right, and that's really the last activity that I need you to complete here. So really use that first page to your advantage, and feel free to add in some of the extra phrases or things that we've talked about. Pay attention to tú versus usted. Pay attention to when to use buenos versus buenas. And those little differences are the big ticket items for this activity. I hope you found that helpful. All right. I look forward to seeing your work. Have a good day.